Hi, welcome to Jumping Into Solutions, Episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about solar panels and electric battery packs. And I'm here today with Constance Butel, who has graciously agreed to have us back at her house. Hi, Constance.
Hello again, Pat.
So good to see you.
Yeah, version 2. Here we go.
Okay, so I see your solar panels up here, and they're pretty impressive. Can you tell us how they work?
Sure.
And details about where they go in the house, stuff like that.
Okay, well, I have 2 sets of solar panels. The ones that you're seeing here I put in 2022, and they're microinverters, and they automatically, in each panel, there are 8 of them, convert the sun's energy from DC to alternating current. So it's directly into the house. The panels that I installed in 2013 are on the side of the house here, and they are direct current, and they go into an inverter in my garage. So I now have enough solar power to power my new electric car, as well as my heat pump and all my, I'm totally carbon free in this house. So.
Wow, I noticed they look quite different than your new panels you have up here. So
Yeah.
Is there a substantial difference, or they're pretty, because these you just put on, what was it, did you say?
2022 for the 8 microinverters.
Okay.
So yeah, they're more powerful. They each can produce more kilowatts of power than the direct current ones. So 2013 to 2022, there's been some wonderful advances in solar technologies.
Great. Can you tell us how it is attached to the roof? And because I know we had some terrible storms this year.
Very windy.
Very windy, 60 miles an hour at
Yes.
some of the gusts. How did the panels hold up? Did you have any leaking, or did anything happen with them?
No, it all. I can tell you that in order to put new panels up, my roof had been replaced about 25 years ago. So I decided before I added the new panels to put a new roof on, which I did, and that should carry me for another 30 years or so. And the panels are very sturdy. They're put on with secure clips. They do not penetrate the roof itself, so there's no leaking. And in the gusting winds, they held up just fine, no problems at all.
Really, at 60 miles an hour, that's pretty strong.
And from where I am, you unfortunately are only seeing this view, but if you're looking out this way, I'm elevated about 300 feet above the Carquinez and in full face of the wind.
So now how does it go into your house? I know it's attached.
Okay, there are conduit cables that go from each series of panels. I sort of like to have my roof kind of unobstructed, so I had them proceed on the outside of my house, but not on the roof, and into my garage. And we'll go into the garage and I'll show you where they feed in. The direct current have to go through an inverter, as I said, to move it from DC to AC, and the microinverters go right into the grid, into my home first, and then into the grid.
So I'm going to ask you a real general question. How much have you saved with the solar panels on your home?
Well, that's a general question. Unfortunately, since I just put in the 8 panels, which cost me about $15,000, and so I'm not quite to the return on investment. But on my 5 panels on the front, put them in 2013, I didn't really expect to have a return on investment, but I found that I did within 5 years.
Oh wow! Okay, so what is like your average
bill in the summer? My average electric bill in the summer is negative something like $20.
Oh my God! Sign me up tomorrow. That's incredible.
Preparing for today, I was watching a couple of excellent videos, and they were talking about. If you're paying $100 now, you can be expecting in about 20 years to be paying $700. So the increase just in terms of producing electricity for the grid from a generator is going to increase dramatically. So the payback is going to be pretty soon.
Okay, okay. Well, let's take a look at your electric battery packs.
Okay, very good.
Thank
Let's
you.
do it.
Wow, Constance, this is so amazing, these 2 packs of yours. Can you tell me about your battery packs here?
Okay. Well, you call it battery pack, I call it battery storage. And
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that I was getting the best and most efficient use of the energy I was producing by solar. And so Marine Clean Energy, MCE, of which I'm a proud member, had a wonderful deal with Tesla at the time for power walls. And I said, well, the time is right. So I had my solar panels installed in 2013. These I had to wait a year for. It was actually about 2016 when I put these in. And they allow me to produce energy during the day, feeding my house and whatnot. And at night, the energy, the excess energy before it goes to the grid are stored in my power walls. And I'm able to do, with my application, on my iPad or iPhone, I can actually set how much storage I want in here. So in the summertime, when I'm producing so much energy, I usually have just about a 30 or 40% backup, and the rest is going out to the grid. In the wintertime, I usually like to top it off.
Wow, that's amazing. For people that can't see the video here, these power walls, I guess they're Tesla power wall. They look like they're about maybe 4 feet by 3 feet. Am I right?
That's about right.
Yeah, they're rectangles, 2 of them, and they have about, I don't know, 4 inches width. And I see where it's there's a
Conduit.
conduit. Thank you. Yeah, that's going into them. So that's kind of incredible. Now, can you use your battery? As you said, you save your own and then you use it when you want to.
Right.
What happens in a power outage?
Oh, that's the joy of the story, right? There might be a little flicker that might indicate, if you're paying attention, that there's been a power outage, but they immediately come to the fore. And I would assume that most of the battery storage actually has a way that you can do a storm watch. And so if there's wildfires or a storm in the area, they automatically top the batteries up to 100% so that you're completely ready for whatever's happening.
Wow.
And we've had some long power outages in Benicia, and I'm very happy to say that I was oblivious to them.
Really? Yeah, because I know we were out for at least 3 or 4 days one time. How many days are you able to go on your batteries?
Well, the summertime, there's not a problem because, you know, anything that you use up at night, you're restored during the day. In the wintertime, with them topped at 100%, I can go a couple days, which should actually get me through any power outage.
Wow, that must just give you such a peace, really, to know that you don't have to worry about any kind of big storm or fire, you know, because I know they're doing outages with fires.
You bet.
Yeah, so it is something I think about personally doing it myself and getting
I mean, that's a wonderful thing to know and to have that comfort and confidence in, but the best thing is to know that they're using self-generated solar power and not putting terrible noxious toxins into the air.
Absolutely. I know even the gas prices too, for the natural gas that people get to the home, has doubled and tripled in some cases already, and I imagine it's just going to get worse and worse. So really doing this to your home, having solar panels and the battery pack, it's a way of saving money, and I know
saving the earth.
Yeah, saving the earth too, and I know you have an electric car. So have you noticed with all of these different things you have? And we went through the heat pumps and the water heaters.
Yes.
So I mean, how much all of this total is your electric bills?
Well, I mean, probably in a year, it's always more in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I'm a single person living at home with 2 Scottish Terriers, so we don't use a lot of energy to begin with. But I would say maybe in the wintertime, I'm paying a $50 to $75 a month electric bill.
Wow.
And that's for everything. That's for water and
for your car
heat
too.
And for the car as well.
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, this has been so great, Constance. Thank you
You're welcome.
for letting me come here and
Thank you everyone for listening.
Hi, everyone. I want to start out by thanking Pat and Constance, and especially Constance, for showing us her home system. I'm Kathy Carriage. Our panel today is Harry Lamba, Pat Toth-Smith, and Jeremy Carlock. And Jeremy is the founder of Got Watts Electric Solar and HVAC. And I'm just going to start out by asking a real basic question. Jeremy, can you explain to us how solar panels work?
Sure, I can, and thank you for having me on the show today. Solar works by absorbing energy from the sun. Solar panels are typically placed on a homeowner's roof, and when the sun hits the panel, the panel has little particles inside that activate, and the simple way to explain it is electrons. Once the panel starts absorbing the energy, the electrons start flowing, creating electricity. This electricity is converted into AC power, which is what your home relies on, and that power will flow from the solar system into the home and eventually out into the utility grid.
How do you install the solar panels, and what is the process that has to be gone through before installation? What does the person have to do, the customer, and what does the solar contractor do, and how do you know that there's a quality control measures to make sure that everything works well?
So it's a complex question, and there are many companies that have their own process. So I'll try to use a couple different terms. The main thing is, have you been in the home long enough to establish a consistent usage history? That can be really complex. If you're buying a brand new home, then there's a big unknown. The second part is finding a contractor that can properly size the system. And what they're going to ask for is your utility usage history. In the PG&E territory, which is the territory I'm familiar with, it's called green button data. That green button data is going to give us interval data, going to give us the kilowatt hour totals for different time intervals. Kilowatt hours, 1,000 watts per hour. That is a complex thing to explain to a lot of people, but you can go find videos or information on it. It's basically a measurement of the energy that you consume at a time interval of 1 hour. The goal of a solar PV system, photovoltaic system, is to produce enough power and convert it to AC to cover your usage. Some people like to go in 80%, some people like to go 100%, some people 120, 130. So let's say you consume 10,000 kilowatt hours annually. You would want to find a system, or your contractor would build a system that is going to produce 10,100 or maybe 8,000 or 12,000. I, as a rule of thumb, recommend 120% up to 150%, especially with everybody going all electric appliances, the electric vehicle mandates coming. We've got heat pump requirements, no more gas-fired appliances coming soon. Your contractor has a lot of work, and what we use are modeling platforms, 3D modeling platforms, most of us. And you'll create a model of a customer's home, or the model will be created for us. It takes into account all the shading data, typically done through LiDAR, which is satellite imagery or plane imagery that's flying all over the country. You put panels on the roof, and you basically run simulations. And some of the platforms, you can actually see the sun moving back and forth, give the customer visualization. And a few other complex calculations right now with NEM 3.0. You've got time of use, and the utility rates are very complex. Once the installer figures out how much solar you need and you agree on that amount, then you move on to assessing the property. Usually the installer or the contractor will send somebody to the property. They're going to verify your roof's age. You'll keep in mind solar panels, most of them are 25-year production guarantee from the manufacturer. So the company that built them states that they will work at X in 25 years. And a lot of those numbers are north of 85%. So you lose about 15% in 25 years. you really don't want to move the system around. If you have a roof that has 10 years or less of lifespan, may consider doing the roof and the solar at the same time. From there, the installer is going to verify the framing is okay, and then they're going to dig into your electrical system. It's important to note that the solar system is complex to install, but with the right group of installers, electricians, whoever your contractor that you choose, there can be items that can be adjusted. Say a panel could be a larger capacity, more breaker space, to allow for that future expansion. So keep in mind, if you're going to build a larger solar system to handle electric appliances, you're going to also want to take into account potentially a larger electrical panel, more room. And then the last little bit is you want to make sure you have monitoring for the system, and you're going to want consumption monitoring and production monitoring. You do want to request this and talk about it with your installer. It is not always possible to do it with the solar system or the components, the inverters that are used, but it is a feature that you will want. After a year of using the system, you'll circle back around, look at the overall production, and make sure that if you signed a contract stating 12,000 kilowatt hours, you want to make sure, using the production data, that system produced 12,000 kilowatt hours.
So Jeremy, when we installed our solar, we oversized the system in anticipation of getting an electric car and also electric water heater and electric, furnace. So for many years, we got a lot of money back from PG&E every year. Now that we've put all those things in, though, I'm paying more to PG&E. So is it difficult? And I'd like to not pay PG&E anything, actually. So is it difficult to add additional panels at this point? Our system's probably 6 years old or 7 years old.
So the first part is figuring out how much do I need in excess. You don't want to waste money building a system that is 300% of your offset, which PG&E won't allow you to do that. And it becomes a very complex calculation. Use Energy Star ratings or use other customers' homes. Adding to a system is a bit complex. And one of the things that's not so fun is PG&E's new net energy metering 3.0, as we know it, NEM 3.0. And they changed the way that the parameters around how you add to a system. And if you were installed prior to April 14th of 2023, you would be NEM 2.0. And I don't have the date, but there was also a previous NEM rate plan. And I think it was maybe 5-6 years prior. The difference between NEM 2 and NEM 3 is pretty substantial. When you add to a system, you'll be transitioned to NEM 3.
So if I add to my system, then I'm going to lose a lot of the net metering benefits.
Yes, and I don't have all of the information in front of me. This is all new to all of us. But off of memory, I think it's 1,000 watts or 10%. It's something close to that you're allowed to add without triggering NEM 3.0.
So I know that Constance had a home battery system, and that's probably, I'm guessing, when we're using the power is, in the early evening. So maybe that's that would be a better option for me. So could you explain how a home battery system works and how that can be used by the homeowner?
So perfect question. So explaining that adding solar to the home could potentially change a rate plan and make things less cost effective. Adding a battery to the home can help offset that. And the way to think about it is, if you say you work a 9-to-5 job, you get home at 6 o'clock. Well, what's going on with all that power that my system, or the electricity my system is producing, say 9 a.m. to 2, 3, 4 p.m.? Well, you're giving it back to PG&E. Well, if you had a battery system on the home, you would store it. And some consumers will discharge it in the peak timeframes. And that could be 4 to 8, 5 to 9, somewhere in that evening. So the goal would be, instead of giving PG&E all this power, I put it into a battery. I have a battery program or protocol, which most of the battery manufacturers make it really easy with your phone, or your installer can do it for you. And the battery will set up to start discharging, say 5 or 6, 7 p.m., whenever is needed. So you start running the air conditioner. Now you've got your battery providing power to that air conditioner. You've got your solar panels providing power to the electrician, or power to that air conditioner. And then you've got whatever those can't provide, then PG&E is going to provide. Remember, it's path of least resistance. Just think solar and battery are going to be the least resistant, and PG&E is going to be the most. So those will provide. And the battery can also have some settings or protocols, so it doesn't just charge all of it at once. Maybe it layers 2,000 watts out for 5 hours.
I just had a quick question, Jeremy. If you don't get your battery when you have your, panels installed, is it expensive to add it later?
Expensive is a term that some people identify as at different numbers. Is $1,000 expensive or $10,000 expensive? The answer is yes. It is costly to install a battery, but it was also costly to install solar. The battery is eligible for a 30% tax credit, which is wonderful. That tax credit goes on till 2032. So you have a lot of time to get that 30%. Also, there's some lenders out there, solar lenders, that will cover the 30%. So let's say the battery was $10,000. Well, you can get a solar loan for $7,000, but they'll pay $10,000 for the battery. And then next year, typically it's the middle of the year, around June, they'll expect you to pay that $3,000 after you've got your tax credit. So really unique financing options.
Well, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, Jeremy, I had a quick question regarding the tax credit. Is there a difference between if there's a battery system that's only for backup versus one that is connected to the solar system? Is there a difference in the tax credit one gets in those two situations?
No, so it's a 30% tax credit from the IRS, and that tax credit's eligible on the solar panels and the battery, whether you do backup or peak shaving, rate arbitrage, just as long as the battery is connected to the grid. And I'm not really, I don't like to quote stuff from the IRS, but I do think there are requirements around solar, but I shy away from that. I would recommend talking to a tax professional. We have not had a client that did not qualify for the tax credit, and with them getting a battery only. It's not complicated. And in order to qualify for the tax credit, you do need to purchase the system. So a lease or a PPA would not be eligible.
That's good to know. So for new installers, people are putting it in now. If they're not going to be able to take advantage of the old rate structure, then they really should be thinking about a home battery system if they want to maximize their savings. But it sounds like even with that, if the payback can be 9 to 12 years, you're still looking at probably, essentially the way I always thought about it is, you're still probably going to have up to 13, 14, 15 years where basically you're not paying much for electricity. If you size it right.
So something to think about is the rate increases that we've experienced. And if you look at your gas bill, it's gone up over 90% since 2021. Your electric bill's gone up greater than 30% since 2021. There are new proposed rate hikes. And I don't want to get into the weeds on those, but there are some things coming. There's also an income-based way of charging PG&E is considering, where higher income would pay actually a higher fee.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. This has been really great. I appreciate you coming on and telling us all this good stuff.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And I want to remind everybody that Jumping Into Solutions has a YouTube channel, and we have other episodes now that have covered heat pump water heaters and heat pump air heaters,
And
and
composting.
composting. And we also have a website, and you can see past episodes on both the YouTube channel and the website, and we have additional resources also on both of those places.
Thank you
So,
very much, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jeremy.
Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me. I appreciate this time. Thank you for the opportunity.